Good morning, everyone. My name is Simran Chaudhary, and I welcome you all to HeartWise Talks brought to you by Voice of Healthcare in honor of World Heart Day 2024. We present our special series Heart Smart 2024 Act Now for a Healthier Tomorrow. This series is dedicated to empowering you with vital knowledge about heart health. Our theme, Use Heart for Action, reflects our commitment to promoting heart health, preventing, encouraging regular checkups, and advocating for cardiovascular health priorities. And for today's episode, we are thrilled to welcome Dr. Ramesh Menon with us, a leading expert in genomic medicine and personal genomics with over 18 years of experience at top institutions across India and Europe. Dr. Menon has made remarkable contribution of to the field of publishing his research in prestigious journals like Nature Neuroscience and etc. He holds a PhD in biomolecular sciences from the University of Milan, and he has completed postdoctoral training in San Rafael Scientific Institute in Italy. Today, we'll dive into how his cutting edge work in genetics is shaping the future of healthcare. Welcome to our show, Dr. Menon.
Thank you, Simran.
Thanks a lot for joining in for this spreading awareness session where we want to actually spread awareness about heart health to all our audience on this special occasion. So, starting with, can you please explain us how genomic medicine can impact the management of heart disease?
Yeah, genomic medicine is relatively a new field in science and medicine, I would say. Like it evolved in last year. When I say it's recent, it's last 10, 15 years that more development with the advent of new technologies. One can look at the DNA and try to see the genetic variations that are causative for the disease, that can be a utility for the diagnosis or can be for the prognosis also, disease stages and the treatment options, all those things. The once genetic information, how it can be used to get the informed take the informed decision by the clinicians how or a person for a screening test to know how the disease much before the onset of symptoms or disease warnings. One can look at the genetic risk much early in the life and decide and mitigate the risk of getting the disease much early in life.
Thank you for explaining that how genetic markers play in preventing heart health. So I just want to know what are some key genetic markers that are relevant for predicting cardiovascular condition and how does it help us?
So coming to the genetic part of the of any inherited disease, there are we can bifurcate it. We can divide it into two parts. One is like a causative genetic variation that is seen very rare. Like overall, if you look at cardiovascular disease, less than 1% of the disease event is caused by those rare mutations. So coming to the cardiovascular disease, it can be in the in the PCSK9 gene or ApoE gene or LDLR gene. So there, and these mutations are seen very rarely. But more than 99% of the disease event are not caused by these monogenic mutations. So those are caused by thousands of or millions of genetic variations that are seen in the genome of a person, and that have a combined effect which confers the risk to develop a disease. So that is called polygenic risk. So the first part is like the genes that I mentioned is all belong to mainly the monogenic risk, which is very rarely seen. And on the other hand, the commonly seen genetic risk is the polygenic one. So which are responsible, which act together in thousands or millions, that confers the risk of developing the disease.
And how does this genomic data contribute to personalized treatment approaches for patients with heart condition? And because we see nowadays personalized medicine and genomics is the future of treatment. So how does it help with patients' heart condition there?
So one thing is like as I was mentioning earlier, one can get informed about their genetic risk much early before the clinical symptom. For example, coming to the cardiovascular diseases. So if someone's cholesterol level is very high, not the borderline high. LDL can be above 160 or between 120 to 160 borderline. So those kind of, at that stage itself, the disease risk has, the manifestation has already started, or it can be seen using a, any clinical risk screening tool now. So much before that all even start, if you check someone's cholesterol level at 20 years, 22 years, it may not be high, it may be the normal, though, regardless of the lifestyle majorly. So at that age also, the genetic, as the DNA remains constant even before our birth, one can assess the risk of getting CAD at 40 or 50, or before 50 years that person reaches. At the age of 20 or 25, that person can get to know the genetic risk, genetic predisposition of getting the disease. So this will help both the person and the clinician to mitigate the risk and help that individual to avoid, or to live a better lifestyle, or some other ways to help the person to mitigate the risk of developing the disease.
So by getting this genomic data of a patient, like okay, these are the levels of cholesterol or any diabetes or any other things which can be measured. So based on that, the advice doctor gives the advice, or they can directly start with the medication. And even if we
Yeah,
are having this personalized data, so can that be personal medicine be ready at that point of time to treat that person with
it's
the
a
condition?
very, very important question. So this is one of the recent advances in the ongoing research, I would say. Like right now, the coming to the, okay, if suppose I got my genetic testing done, for example, a
Yes.
screening test I did, and I got my polygenic risk score. I have a high risk score for CAD, for example. What can I do? At present, at the clinical level, intervention level, it is only the lifestyle diet modifications that I can do. So, but the latest research or the ongoing work that is going on in the genomic medicine, that is on the clinical interventions. So studies have shown, like people who have a high genetic risk are administered with the statins, for example, they have a less chance of getting the event at a particular time compared to whoever is not treated having the same genetic risk. So that is still not came to the clinical intervention now. Now the interventions are based on only at the lifestyle and the lifestyle and the diet related thing that one can be aware. And another thing is like cardiovascular diseases. It has several other diseases contribute to the risk of CAD. For example, diabetes, hypertension. So one can mitigate the risk for getting those diseases as well. So it is kind of indirectly controlling or reducing the risk of getting the CAD by reducing the risk of comorbidities. We call it as comorbidities. So diabetes, hypertension, if you control them, so you can indirectly control the cardiac events.
And how much time does it take if a person is required some kind of special medicine? So how much time does it take doctor to give that kind of medicine to it?
So coming to the coming to the intervention, medical interventions in terms of drugs, the medicines. So there is also a branch called pharmacogenomics. So one can utilize their information from their DNA to see whether certain drugs works better, or works in a normal way, or works in a poor way in that given person. So this is technically that drug metabolism. So a drug means a medicine is properly metabolized in that person, is also determined. Not all drugs, but several drugs for cardiovascular disease are determined by one's genetic makeup as well. So if one does a not only a risk assessment for cardiovascular disease, but also a pharmacogenomics screening to see whether certain blood thinners work for them or not. Usually, how it happens is like one is administered and over a period of time, and the result is seen. But if the genetic screening is done upfront, the clinician can make a informed decision sooner whether the treatment will effectively work in that person or not.
Thank you so much for elaboratively explaining this to us and to our audience in a layman's language, so that every person out there can understand the importance of genomic testing and the data for personalized treatment and medicine. So, my next question is: what is the upcoming development in genomic medicine? Could that significantly affect heart disease prevention and treatments?
Yes, absolutely. That's quite important question. So I would say like the recent development or the upcoming research or the ongoing research that is upcoming result that will come in near future, we can make it in two directions. One is like the technological developments in terms of how the DNA to be looked upon, how fast we can sequence the DNA, how uh, cost effectively we can sequence the DNA. So that is one part, and along with that, the algorithms, the methods that are developing. Even nowadays, you can see like several companies come up with these new algorithms to analyze the DNA and all. And the other part is like the clinical intervention that I was mentioning earlier. So how this genetic, okay, I looked at my DNA, and I see like a high risk. How, when I go to a clinician at the ground level, okay, I got my result, what can I do from a clinical point of view? In that thing, there is a ongoing research that is very on. When I say ongoing research, it's not like a 20-year, it will take 10 to 20 years to get the outcome and all. So there are studies at the clinical trial phases, clinical trial phase 1 and 2, where with a single interventions of the genetic modifications that one can make. So, okay, this one genetic mutation is causing the disease. It's a monogenic, causative gene. So you can make the changes in the gene so that you reduce the risk of getting the, for example, high cholesterol. So that research is in the clinical trial phase now. So sooner, so both at the technology level and at the intervention level, that is the that's a recent advancement I see, and which is going to come in next few years. Which will be really helping not only the patients but also the clinicians to take decisions.
Dr. Menon, since we are talking about the genomic testing and how its advancements in research can help prevent heart diseases, so I would like to know what exactly patients should know about genetic testing for heart disease, and how can they use this information for their advantage.
So I would say like one should really be aware about this one. Don't, this nowadays these tests are not very expensive, but one can easily afford these tests. But it is important to be doing, before doing the test, one needs to be aware of what they are doing and what kind of results are expected from that. So today I did the test just by random, and I came to know, okay, I have a high risk of getting CAD. So then I should not get panic just like that, jumping into a test. I can afford it, I did that, it's the newest technology. But we should also be aware before taking the test, what kind of test need to be taken. If I have a strong, very strong family history, so there can be a monogenic mutation, so one should opt for those kind of tests. If at the early stage, then one can look at the polygenic risk, like the polygenic risk. That's as I told, it's a more common genetic risk. Okay, somebody in the family has the risk, not very strong, but has the risk. It can do a genes. Now all these tests are available. For example, the cardiogen test from GeneSense MedGenome. So those kind of screen are much affordable, and also the monogenic risk, the diagnostic test from MedGenome. So all those tests are available at a affordable cost to many, but one should be aware about which test to be taken and what is the expected result and how far we can go with that test result. So then as I was mentioning, also the pharmacogenomic test is also highly valuable when it comes to the treatment thing. So those all things, I would say, awareness is more important than taking, likely jumping into a, practically jumping into a test that is, not out of fancy. So yeah.
but you explained all of this, the role of genomics for heart health in a very beautiful way, so that every person out there, whether they are from this medical background or not, but it is very easy and beneficial for them to understand this and how this can affect their heart health and prevent heart diseases. And thank you so much for spreading that awareness and being a very important part of this HeartWise talk show for Voice of Healthcare, because your knowledge, your insights and expertise matters a lot to spread this kind of awareness. So thank you so much, Dr. Menon, for coming to our platform and sharing your insights with us.
Thank you, Simran, for the interaction. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you.